here's Brody Brazil.
A little bonus for you here to start this video. Did you realize one of the most famous lines in the movie Field of Dreams actually gets misquoted every single time? It was not, "If you build it, they will come." It was actually, "If you build it, he will come." They were talking about a specific character. But I digress. The White Sox, getting to the point of this video, they built it. They built a baseball diamond. Not the full stadium, but what I think is a scaled-down version of a 90-foot baseball diamond. I'm looking at the cars and scale and perspective here. That looks like a 60-foot diamond. Anyway, they put a baseball field on the site of the 78, which is where they ultimately want to build their brand new stadium. It's on Chicago's South Loop. They want to develop the entire plot of land. They're trying to give people a preview of what they want to do, and renderings are not enough. And I'll show you the renderings side by side with the actual photos. But who does this? I mean, it's a great idea. It's a great way to showcase exactly where this would be, what it would look like, what it would feel like to get there. I'll explain that part in just a second. You take a water taxi to get from downtown to this site. There's so many cool opportunities here. Problem is, how do they fund it? How do they make all of this happen? Public versus private money. We'll get there later on in this video, but just for the sense of the visuals and oh my goodness, some people actually got to play a little bit of baseball on that field. Also this, like logistics, how much did that cost? And I don't think there's irrigation under there. They're not going to water this and keep it alive for that long. I don't think. I don't know what the White Sox plans are, but they didn't tell anybody that they were really doing this. They had an event on Monday, as I'm recording this, a couple days ago. And even then, it only kind of came out yesterday that, oh, we had this, we did this, now we're showing this to the public. So they kind of had it all done in secret, and I'll explain what exactly happened here via reporting from the Chicago Sun-Times. So here's what had been happening. There was not any progress made on the public funding for this White Sox stadium project. And reportedly, they've been asking maybe for up to $1 billion or more as part of financing this project. So the Sun-Times said, legislators, business leaders, and other VIPs were invited on a downtown riverboat tour that docked at the undeveloped parcel known as the 78. That's the site, the neighborhood. It would be Chicago's 78th neighborhood, near Roosevelt Road and Clark Street, where longtime Sox groundskeeper Roger Bossard had manicured a pop-up field of the team's future dreams. They call Roger the sod father, I believe. He's the head groundskeeper currently at Guaranteed Rate Field on the south side. And so the White Sox and their team, their grounds crew, put that field together, to sell legislators, to sell business leaders, to sell VIPs and say, hey, look at what we got here. Does this change your mind? Does this accelerate the process? And I got to be honest, personal experience here, when the Oakland A's were desperately trying to work things out in Oakland, and Howard Terminal was their spot. Me as a media person, what do you think is one of the things I got to do? Go to Howard Terminal, walk the site, kind of visualize. What would this look like if a ballpark were right here? That was to a certain degree, right? Like we visualized it there. The White Sox literally put the field there. And look at even how they painted in the 78 with the logo, and it says Chicago, and it's got a fence out there. Chicago's next great neighborhood. A new legacy, it says out there on the fence. And look at that view. On a perfect Chicago day in the fall, my goodness, what a selling point all of that is. And there's no question, this is why now they're letting everybody in the public see this and the media see this. They did their secret surprise pop-up event back on Monday, and now everybody else is kind of finding out about this. But I said before, like reality versus renderings, and we'll get to that in a second, seeing it in real life, even without the stadium, is so priceless. And the sell goes like this. They called it the South Loop Fantasy Camp. It was put on by the White Sox, and Related Midwest, by the way, is the developer of the 78 acreage. Attendees then got to round the bases and shag ground balls on the diamond with White Sox greats and Hall of Famers. Like, who was there for that? Was the Big Herd out there? Were there some other former White Sox players out there? According to an invitation for the event, which was closed to press, right? So they didn't want any of the media there. They just wanted their VIPs and their legislators. And billed as being meant to, quote, celebrate the spirit of America's pastime and embrace the future of Chicago's legacy, end quote. So the developer and the White Sox, they got together, they had this idea. And again, now we'll get to reality versus renderings. This is the rendering. This is one of a couple different renderings, which, by the way, came out beautiful. I think we saw these in the first couple months of 2024, like January, February, March or so. We got to see these renderings, which were leaked initially, but then they officially came out. And it's beautiful. And this is a better overhead look at the site and what they've done. It also shows you that tent there, that tent area. I'm sure there was some type of dinner or cocktails that were had at that tent. And just to clear off the site, are we talking like $100,000 to do this? Just to make this field out there? What does that cost? I know it's your own team of people, it's your own grounds crew, but to level things out and grade it and to get all that sod and lay it down, I don't know. I know they know what they're doing, but it's an interesting, I like it. I mean, it's a great pitch, I will say that. But you certainly see reality better than renderings when they're side by side. But all of this is still up against a very great challenge. This is more from the Chicago Sun-Times. Lawmakers across the state have uniformly bristled at White Sox owner Jerry Reinsdorf push for about $1 billion in public funding for the project, including a tax-increment financing district, an extension of the 2% hotel tax increase used to renovate Soldier Field, and a new sales tax overlay district around the 78. Also this, so there's complications of how to split up this money, what the state and what Chicago might do, but there's also this. The team Reinsdorf is currently fielding at Guaranteed Rate Field is closing in on the modern-day Major League Baseball record for most losses in a season. That's right, the Chicago White Sox of 2024 would be lucky to get to 40 wins and the corresponding 122 losses. 120 is the watermark right now for the most losses in modern baseball history. They might exceed it by 2. And let me also say, I'll make a separate video on this. I'm going to go White Sox crazy this week. The White Sox also recently came out to suggest that even as bad as their team is this season, that they're going to spend even less next year because of attendance being so low this year. All of this is not setting up in a pretty picture. Struggling team, low attendance, want to move to a ballpark in a 2-team market. Remember, the Cubs are in Chicago too. So what's next? If this doesn't happen, is it the relocation threats? Is that what happens next here? It's just to understand that what the White Sox and related Midwest put on here was fantastic. It's a nice showcase, and I appreciate the gesture of putting this field up and letting people get excited about it, but understanding where this sits in the bigger picture, I don't know that the White Sox have everything together. And there is some competition between the soccer team and the football team in Chicago for a new stadium and all this public money that might get cut 3 ways. This is still a challenge. This is very much not a done deal. Or if I could go Jordan on you, it's not a slam dunk. Or a grand slam if you need the baseball reference. So politically, things feel kind of stuck. Representative Cam Buckner, Democrat from Chicago, said this, quote, "We want to hear what all these teams, baseball, soccer, and football, have in mind for economic development in the region, but we've yet to see anything on paper about what specifically they're asking for. Till that happens, this is all just really conversation." So we'll see what the effects are of putting up a field like that, having the Monday night like they had. Maybe they'll keep this field going. Maybe they'll invite some other groups out to see it, to experience this. I would say going and visiting this, though, like we're looking at pictures here. If you're somebody lucky enough to go out there and visit that, how could you not be sold? On a river taxi down the Chicago River, docking at this site, walking up to this ballpark, looking at that skyline, looking at that view. It's funny, I was looking at some photos the other day from a recent trip I made to Chicago, and out the window, I took a photo for my son of like Lake Michigan and the skyline. And sure enough, what I didn't even realize was part of the photo was this 78 site. It is in a prime location on the South Loop. Anybody would be lucky to have it for anything, baseball stadium or not. It's kind of amazing that it hadn't yet been developed. There's transportation nearby. Obviously, the river is right there. So much upside, but that doesn't make it any easier for this to become a reality. And look, I'm somebody who hopes, number one, the White Sox never leave Chicago, and number two, something like that can get done in a fair and efficient manner, a responsible manner. That's probably the best way to put it. You made it here to the end of this video. You know I really appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. That greatly helps me, this video, and this channel. I would like that, but I would love it even more if you just go down there real quick. Make sure right now that you are already subscribed to this channel. That way I can definitely see you back here next time.